You spent decades working along some of the best in the business.
Yeah.
Was there a moment in your career where you realized this is how the top tier people operate?
That's a good question. Bryan Cranston was a great example of how top tier people operate, and really taught me a lot about not only about acting, but about how to kind of how you should act as the number one on the show. He was always on, literally 6 years. I don't remember a time he was ever late on set. He was always the first guy on set. He was, he never caused problems or was diva-esque. And it was so refreshing and so awesome because he set the tone. Because all of us then, like, oh, well, Brian's going to be on tonight. We all have to be on. There was none of that kind of diva-esque activity. So he was one of the guys. My very first movie was with Mel Gibson, Lethal Weapon 2. So, and he too was just a consummate professional. So. What I've found is that the more talented people, the better, are also the best people on set.
What is it? Is it just they know all their lines, they're ready to deliver everything the director wants?
Yeah, I did a movie with Nick Cage, and Nick Cage is, it does a lot of movies. And I mean, he showed up, he didn't even have the sides, way up what they call sides, which is your lines for the day. He didn't even have his, he was already memorized and already, and I was like, he should, I thought he was going to like phone it in a little bit, because he's done 1,000 of these movies, but he was just on it, and I realized, geez, I couldn't have my slides, so the next day I had to make sure I had my stuff memorized too, so it's interesting. I find the guys that are the best at acting are also the best professionals. In that sense.
Right.
Yeah.
When you look back at your career, if somebody hadn't seen anything of your work, if you were to tell them one project to go check out, what would it be?
Well, of course, it'd be Breaking Bad.
To see from start to finish of how a character story arc really can be.
Yeah, which was new at the time. We take it for advantage now, or we take it for granted now. I guess Sopranos was out, but most TV shows at that point still were, rinse and repeat. I mean, they were nothing changed between one week to the next. They wanted to see the same character. So it was interesting to be in Breaking Bad where you really had a character that, way changed over the course of the show, and the same for everybody in the show.
So many of that cast had a crazy arc.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And Hank in particular, though, went from this kind of, bloviating, kind of douchebag-ish, macho guy to this just like, PTSD and, just a horrible, thing he had to go through. And it's almost like I told Vince, should I re-audition for after season 3?
What's so crazy to me, too, is that when you get that first audition,
yeah,
that didn't make it into the show. That was just a side that they wanted to see if you could do it.
Yeah, the first audition was, Hank was a little more racist. Yeah, he was definitely kind of like spouting off. So they kind of toned that down once the show started happening, which I'm kind of glad they did. I think they decided that wasn't a side of Hank they wanted to have on the show. You know what I'm saying? But the audition was very much, I gotta look at it again, but he was definitely, yapping about some ethnic group or something,
Was there something about the script that stuck out to you? Because you've done so many projects.
Yep.
Was there something about that script that stood out to you in Vince's writing style or the way that it was going to be shot that made it really feel special?
Man, when I read that script, it was unbelievable. There were, and we all felt the same way. It's, you read it and you're like, man, that's the best independent movie I've ever seen or read, But so that's what stuck out, is that just the writing was fantastic. And what happened was that occurred throughout the show. Every time we got a script, it was like, can't be any better than the last one. And then it was,
Wow.
Yeah, and we'd all read it, literally like, oh, I can't wait to read it. And it was like, oh my God, I get to say that? Oh, that's gonna happen. It was so incredible.
What was it like for you being the guy to be so close to seeing him unravel who Walter White really was? Were you just itching for him to figure it out?
Yeah. And I think the tension of the show was, not to get too dorky, but there's an old short story, The Purloined Letter, at Edgar Allan Poe, where the stolen letter is literally in the mailbox, sitting there right for everyone to see, but he can't see it. And I thought that was very much Hank. I mean, there's no way he could think his nebbish, who he thought was kind of, I don't know, maybe effeminate, certainly not a macho guy. That guy could be this Heisenberg, you know what I'm saying? And I think they played that really well. Like, I get asked a lot, like, why didn't you figure it out earlier? First of all, the show would have been over. But also, that was the tension of the show, is that there was this, it to the audience, it may have seemed right in front of them, and sometimes it was in front of him, but he could never have imagined that this guy, this Walter White,
His own family,
and the name is White. I mean, it's like he's just milquetoast. You know what I'm saying? That this guy could be the guy who's doing all this incredible stuff. I thought they played that out very well. There were a couple scenes where, I don't know. So, yeah.
When you're reading a scene and it's a big scene, like even if we go into like Terminator 2.
Yeah.
There's tons of extras, explosions, guns,
Yeah.
so many moving pieces.
Yeah.
When you're reading the script, is it how it comes out when you envision it in your head when you see the final product?
Sometimes yes and sometimes no. It's funny you bring up Terminator 2 because the scene I was in that, they literally blew up 2 stories. This was back before they were doing more CGI.
And this is James Cameron.
This is James Cameron. I got yelled at by James Cameron, which
pretty cool.
I take, yeah, because we were shooting or something. He's like, cut. I'm like, no. He's like, God damn it. I said, cut. I was like, oh shit, James Cameron just yelled at me. But they literally had to shut down a freeway. Okay, because they had as big as this chair, bags of, I don't know, gas or whatever it was, like all on this top of this building, and they blew it up, literally blew it up. And they had to shut down the freeway because they were afraid people would freak out, I think it was the 5. And so that was amazing to see that happen. And so in that case, yeah, it looked pretty, it looked like what it was going to be because they actually blew it up,
And you got that role so early on into your career.
Yeah. And that's in the day when they took a long time to do movies too. I was great because I did, Lethal Weapon 2 took close to 5 months. Total Recall, I did Total Recall. That took like 6 months. Now they do movies in 4 weeks, So those were great deals because I got to make some money as a young guy, and it worked out well.
You're a Harvard graduate moving out to Los Angeles, pursuing the Hollywood dream.
Yeah.
Everything came pretty quickly in 6 months.
It did. Yeah. When I moved out, there was a writer's strike at the time.
And were you aware of that?
I was aware of that. But they were retreading. They did some old movies that had already been written, and they redid them like TV movies. So I did a couple of those TV movies, and then I moved out in the spring, and by Thanksgiving I got Lethal Weapon 2, and that's when I was able to stop my job as a waiter, which I lied to get the job to begin with because I had never waited tables. But
your acting career began then.
And it was in Westwood. It was at the Hamburger Hamlet in Westwood.
Is that still around?
No, I know, I miss it actually. And right next to the Hamburger Hamlet was the theater that premiered Lethal Weapon 2. So when I went back because back then again it took 6 months to make it, 6 months to finish it. It was almost a year and a half after I'd quit my job there, and they had the premiere right there, right next to it, the Westwood Mann Theater.
Did you have an agent at that point? Did you have a manager?
I came out here because I had a manager in New York who had a partner out here in LA. So I didn't want to come out here without representation. So once I got this representative on the East Coast, because I was at the American Repertory Theater up at Harvard, and manager came up to see some other clients that were working there, and I signed with him, and then he had a partner out here. So yeah, I had representation when I came out through them.
In the 80s, what kind of roles are you going after?
You know, it's weird because I've always looked older, like especially when I was in my 20s, I looked mid-30s, but I didn't have the kind of depth of an older guy. So I was always doing, I just automatically started getting, law enforcement type roles, because I think, as I've said before, if you go to any donut shop and see 3 cops, one of them's going to look like me. But it was great because for Lethal Weapon 2, for instance, I met the director, and I remember sitting, it was my big audition. I mean, it was in Warner Brothers, and, big old deal, and sit down there, and he's like, at the end, he's like, yeah, you look like a cop. And that was it. And he hired me, I was like, great. So I ended up getting a lot of those types of stuff. And I was always, I did a lot of comedy when I was in college theater. So I always wanted to do funny stuff, but nobody ever cast me in funny stuff until recently. So that's been a kind of a new wrinkle in the past, I would say 5-6 years, where I get to do more comedy.
Like you're saying, if you're doing law enforcement, what do you bring to the character to make sure each one is their own individual, so you're not repeating the same guy?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's something that I look at. I actually look back at performances
of my
own and go, okay, don't do that again. Don't do that again. And don't do that again. And try to find, it's always in the script, whatever is given to you in the script, in terms of who the character is, what people say about you in the script also, not just what you say, but what people say about that character. And you try to find something new, which is always a challenge, to try to find something new and interesting in these characters, even though they may be all law enforcement, but they're all individuals in some way,
I know we're jumping around a little bit, but yeah. I'd love to go over to Law and Order now. Because now you're stepping into a franchise that's already been established.
Yeah.
You're working with Christopher Maloney.
Yeah.
How do you go about developing that character?
Well, luckily, Chris Maloney and I are friends.
Before you got the role?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we did a movie called Small Time with a great director, a friend of ours. And so we knew we had a lot of, comfort with each other.
The chemistry was already there.
Yeah. And then they hired me for that because I'm sure he just said, yeah. So that was fun. I wish that was still going on because I enjoyed playing this kind of, a non-law enforcement guy next to Chris. Chris is a great actor and he's a great guy. And, but I think it stemmed from us knowing that we had some chemistry prior to that.
Is it more challenging stepping into something that's already been established, into the universe that already is there?
I don't know if it's more challenging. I mean, there's always different challenges for different roles. Like I said, for that one, it felt comfortable because I felt like we were brothers before even doing the show, you know what I'm saying? So it was nice to just kind of step into that. And I didn't have to follow in anybody's footsteps. It was a new character. It wasn't particularly challenging for that. No.
What gets you excited about a new character?
Something that, I just, there's roles that I haven't played and I can't believe I haven't. I haven't played a lawyer. I'm like, really? I went to fucking Harvard, man. I never played a doctor. These are common characters on TV. So I would be really excited to get to play a lawyer or a doctor and just explore all that because I haven't explored any of that. And, I've been around for a bit and I don't know why, but hopefully one of those will come up soon.
I'd love to see you in like the Seth Rogen universe comedy Doctor.
Oh, man. Wouldn't that be fun? Yeah. And that's the other thing. Comedy is something I like to do more and more. Chuck Lorre cast me in this show called United States of Al. He cast me in The Big Bang originally because he was a big Breaking Bad fan. And he cast me in The Big Bang, and I was so scared because I'd never done anything. Like, I hadn't been in front of an audience in forever.
But that's so interesting because that's kind of where you started.
Yeah. But at this point, I was like, oh, my God. And talk about stepping into, that was a show where you're stepping into an established thing that was kind of wacky.
The well-oiled machine that's running.
Well-oiled machine. And, they're just like bing, 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 bing. And I'm like, I'm really nervous because there's people that, what if I forget my lines? Really, I remember getting like kind of sweaty hands. And I got through it. And I remember Chuck, at the end, they kind of line up and everybody claps. And Chuck walks down and he said, "You're a really funny guy." And I was like, "Oh, thanks, Chuck. It's good to hear from somebody who is that well known." I just did an episode of his new show called Stewart Fails to Save the Universe. We were just at the premiere was it last night? Night before. And so it was really encouraging for me to have a guy like him think I was funny. And then, of course, he cast me later in the show we did for a couple of years. And I hope to work with him again. But, yeah, that's exciting, too, to do some comedy. I'd love to do a Seth Rogen comedy or one of those kind of guys, I don't know if they think of me in those ways, but maybe we'll see.
How often are you auditioning now?
I just get offers, so I don't have to audition, which is nice. I just got an offer tonight, Harvey Keitel movie, in fact, it's going to start in August.
Oh, amazing.
And, I mean, one of my heroes, So, and then I'm playing a cop in that, so that's good.
Have you already done how you're going to work this character?
No, I literally got the script 2 days ago, so I haven't really gone through it that much, but we have to wait to make the deal. And then we'll delve into it. But yeah, it's nice. It's nice to be able to get offers, and you kind of pick and choose and read it and see what works.
You've got your hands so full between family, the restaurant,
yeah,
constantly working now. So you have this new script. What does your process look like when you're figuring out who he's going to be?
Read it. I read it like literally maybe 3 times in a row, and just try to get what I feel my job as an actor is to obviously service the script, service the writer's vision of who this character is supposed to be, and then you bring your own stuff into it, and you hopefully you hear from the writer, "Oh my God, I didn't even think that," or I didn't see that in that, or I didn't, you brought something to it that I didn't realize. That's always a great compliment, but first I think I have to find the character that is written in the script,
I love hearing that you're basing how you create the character on what other people say about him.
Yeah.
You like to plant little seeds of what's about to happen in who you are.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think, who we are as people is how we are perceived by other people to a certain extent, You may think of yourself as one way, maybe that character thinks of himself as one way, but you learn about who you are by what other people say about you, and think about you. So I've always thought that was an important part of figuring out who the character should be.
For a character like Hank,
yeah,
he's so emotionally involved, especially in the later seasons. Do you ever have to dig really deep within yourself to get that emotion that he's trying to portray?
Yeah, there was. The latter seasons of Breaking Bad were a little rough for me.
Because those are long scenes.
They were long scenes. My dad died, weirdly enough, in the 3rd season. And that's when it was almost like, I don't know how Vince knew this or whatever, but that's when the emotional scene started happening. And so I was going through the grieving process of that. And, just by circumstance, I mean, just it happened to work for the character, because I was less in the mood to be funny or a blowhard Hank. And I was kind of set up emotionally in my own personal life to be the emotional Hank. And that continued right through to the end. And I drew a lot just from the grieving process. It's not directly related, but the kind of mental state you're in. I was able to use that for the last 3 seasons of Breaking Bad. And unfortunately, man, I brought a lot of that home with me. It's hard to be that depressed all day for a 12-hour shoot, and not have that stick with you. I remember even getting a little short with my lovely, lovely friend Betsy Brandt, who played my wife Marie, and I was like I snapped at her at some point. I was like, "What the fuck?"
Off camera.
Yeah, and I was like, "That's not me. That's not this is not." But it kind of with that amount of stuff in him, that was going on, and it just kind of stayed with me. And I remember I had to apologize. I said, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that," but it just kind of stayed with you, and it would stay with me until that show was over. So
I mean, it comes through in the scenes because you need to pause it and take a break.
Yeah,
because some of it is so intense.
Yeah,
between the eye contact of Walter and Hank staring at each other, figuring each other out.
Man, Bryan directed the scene the garage scene where I punch him, and I remember that day like vividly, just because it was just he and I figuring out how we're gonna do this thing, and we'd known each other for 5 years at that point, and it was just so intense, man. I love that. I was just get chills thinking about sitting there and getting into that scene. Yeah.
How did it work with him directing? And are you guys breaking in between?
He was A, he's a great director. B, we were talking earlier about, how people are professionally. He was just, he could just go, "Hey, Dean, how are the kids? How's it going? What are you doing for dinner?" And then look at his sides, action, and he would become Heisenberg. Like, I was like a few times I literally had to go, "Whoa, what the fuck is going on here?" He was such a professional in that way. He could just, so he could direct, put the camera here, look at it, you do this, do that, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you ready to go, Dean? Yeah. Action. And he would just become Heisenberg, just right in front of your eyes. It was amazing, man. So I love thinking about those times.
That was incredible because the two of you just keep leveling each other up in that scene.
Yeah, and he kept pushing it and pushing it. He's a great, he would come by. There were some other scenes he would come by. He wasn't even in them, but he would be like around the set and he would give me ideas of what to do. And there were always great ideas. There was a scene where we're in the RV and they're in there and I can't get in because the guy comes out, the junkyard guy comes out and says, "Hey, this is, my property," or whatever. And Bryan said, "Hey, Dean, I have a pipe in my hand or something." He goes, "Why don't you just drag it along this RV?"
So eerie.
And Bryan Cranston gave me that. And he's like, "Just think about this, drag it along the thing, I was like, "Oh, what a great idea." So he was like, he was always on the show. He was always like, in it and trying to make it better. He would write us letters, emails before each new season. And he was like a football coach. It would be something like, "Hey guys, we had a great season last season. Essentially, let's see if we can up our game a little bit this season. Let's see if we can all get a little better, dig a little deeper." I'm like, "Yes, Bryan, I will." I just thought it was funny that, he was like He was like the father figure of the show, in addition to being the lead guy. So I'd ask him questions about career stuff. What I should do this, what I should do next, and that kind of stuff. And he would always have great answers.
For that scene in the RV, how long does that take to film?
That was a half a day. Yeah, that was a good half a day. And again, we were probably, I think we were the last show to shoot on film. After that, everybody was digital.
Do you think that gives the show a special look?
I did, and it cost them more money. AMC did it because they wanted to cut, because this was back in the day, the American Movie Channel, where they had these classic movies, and they wanted this to look seamless.
Oh.
So they paid the extra money. I don't know, whatever, 100,000, something like that, extra to do it on film, so that they could have this show. So you didn't see a movie and then you see a cut from the show and you're like, that's bullshit. It looks like a daytime soap opera. You know what I'm saying? So they kept it film all the way to the end.
Is that something Vince Gilligan also wanted?
Oh, I'm sure he did. He's such a big film buff. I'm sure he was very, very happy that was what they did. But that was an AMC choice.
Does that take longer to film on too because of lighting and?
Yeah, because you got to do a lot of lighting and, digital, you can do all kinds of stuff and adjust it. But it took a long time. We had great cinematographers. Michael Clovis was our cinematographer for most of it. And I think that, because if you look at the show, it's a great look. It's a cinematic show, even though it's a TV show. And I think that led the way. Like I said, The Sopranos was before us, but I think a lot of shows said, "Oh, okay, we can now do this. We can be a movie on TV." And since then, it's just gone more and more. I mean, there's less network stuff and more, obviously, Apple and Netflix and all these people doing basically cinematic TV shows.
Would you say Breaking Bad was filmed more like a movie rather than a TV show at that time?
I do. I think so. And I remember seeing the pilot when it was screened at Sony, and it was in a movie theater, and I remember watching it going, this is a great independent movie. You know what I'm saying? They don't make independent movies anymore, apparently. I think all the independent movies from when I was kind of, in the 80s and 90s, they've all now gone to TV. There used to be those kind of cool, quirky $2 million movies, $3 million movies that you'd go see. I think all those writers now have just gone to TV, and because they can make those types of stuff on TV now.
What was your reaction when you first saw the pilot? Did you think it was going to be a success?
We all thought it was like an amazing, like, what the F? Like, I haven't seen anything like that on TV. But we were all concerned that it was so different that nobody would watch it, because we were all coming from. I mean, Bryan had done Malcolm in the Middle. We were all coming from. I had done a bunch of, network guest stars and stuff like that, and it was nothing like any of us had ever seen. So we were all concerned that, like, this is great, but no one's gonna watch it. And luckily, AMC had nothing else. We had Mad Men, and they put it on the air, and still nobody watched it for the first 2 years. I don't even know how we got. Bryan got nominated for an Emmy the first year, and nobody even knew the show
For Best Actor.
And he won. And that is what I think kept us on the air. This is my thinking. I have to read the book and hear what the CEOs say. But I think that's what kept us on the air for the second episode, for the second season. You couldn't even, this is weird to say, but you couldn't even bet on him. This is before Kelce and all these stuff like this. But Vegas had odds on who would win the Emmy. And he wasn't even, there were no odds for him.
He was that far off.
He was sitting way back. All the contenders were sitting up here, and he had to walk forever to get down to the stage. And we were all just blown away that he won. And that's what I think got us a second season. And then the third season, Netflix picked it up, and that changed the game.
Because everyone was just streaming it at that point.
At that point, people who had not seen it before now were watching it. I believe they coined the term binge watching for Breaking Bad. And that's what Netflix, because Netflix used to come to our rap parties and stuff like that. Ted Sarandon and those guys. And then once, it's funny, once they picked it up, it just became a huge thing. And then AMC, I think, wrote us a little note saying, "Hey, don't promote Netflix because we want people to watch it on our channel." But Netflix was new. I still have a couple CDs,
You never
DVDs.
sent back.
Yeah, I have a couple DVDs. I'm gonna save them. I think they're gonna be like an old Apple computer, you know?
Yeah.
Oops, sorry. So, but that was their transition from DVDs to going, oh, we better come up with our own shows.
And that's when they come up with House of Cards, Orange is the New Black.
Yes.
At that point, when Netflix really gives Breaking Bad that big boom, season 3, do you feel a shift in the budget and the way that things are being run?
I didn't feel it. No, we didn't feel a shift in the budget, but we just felt a shift in the
Popularity?
And all of a sudden, it was just like everybody was talking about it, you know. People would run into you on the street, and all of a sudden, they were, whoops, sorry. It was literally a whole new thing. And then, of course, between what I called it 5A and 5B, but it was really season 5 and season 6, everybody caught up on it. And when they were ready for that season 6, I mean, we were one of the few shows ever that increased our ratings year by year.
Most of the time, it dips off.
Right, exactly. And we literally kept going up and up and up. And by the last season, it was like being the Rolling Stones, man. It was like, it just was off the chart in terms of cable viewing, you know what I'm saying? And it's still to this day. We get new, you know, it retains its relevancy because it's sort of like a book on a shelf now. You know, it's like a Shakespearean book on a shelf. You can read that play over and over again. And every year we get, you know, kids get old enough to watch it. You know what I'm saying? So whether that's 15 or whether that's you're in college now or whatever, but at some point you know you're at an age where you can watch the show and it just stays relevant, man. It's amazing. We're as popular now as we ever have been, you know, which is weird to say for a show.
20 years later.
Yeah. Think about that. I mean, it's like, people, yeah. And it continues to be that way because we've always been our main demographic has always been young men, 15 to 25. And it still is because those guys, you know, they weren't old enough to watch it when it came out, but now they're watching it, you know, like I said, either at home or in college or whatever. And it continues to be a relevant show.
I rewatched it when I met my wife, and then her mom got into it and became
nice.
like a family show again.
Yeah. I got to rewatch it. I haven't rewatched. I watched it on Sunday evenings. They would give us advanced copies of it, but I would literally sit there at 10 o'clock on Sunday and watch the show. I think it worked because the commercials, you kind of needed the commercials to kind of like, okay.
You need to breathe. It's too intense.
It's too intense. So I watched it along with everybody else, and I was going to watch it with I have 5 kids. I was going to watch it with a couple of them, but I think they've already sampled it all on YouTube and everything else. You know what I'm saying? But I like to sit down, and I will at some point. I'll grab 1 or 2 of them and say, all right, we're going to watch this thing, you know, from beginning to end and see what it's like. I mean, I have people coming to me all the time. They've watched it certainly 2 times, 3 times, 5 times, 10 times. You know, people that literally have it on, it's just on. It's pretty crazy.
Even the merchandising still going around now today. It's insane.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And we're bringing out my beer again, Schrader Brow, September. Getting ready for the anniversary of the show, the 20th anniversary of the show.
Where can people buy that?
It'll be on craftshack.com, which is a craft, as in craft brew. And then I think we're in 13 states. I got to find out which ones, but that'll be in September. So But if you follow me on socials, it'll be advertised there as well.
And we're coming up on the 20th anniversary of Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
You decided to write a book.
Yeah.
If people want to check it out, what are they going to find within?
It was so fun to do this book because we literally interview. It's an oral history, so it's just basically a collection of interviews. But we interview everybody, all the actors, all the CEOs, obviously Vince Gilligan and the writers and everybody else. But it's amazing. There's a lot of amazing stuff in there. One of them is that you get to hear like where people were in their lives when the show hit them, like where Aaron Paul was in his life when he got the show, where Anna Gunn was, where Betsy, where Brian was, all these, this show that like, just despite all the odds, somehow got on the air. And it was 2 years they were trying to sell the show. And it's really interesting listening to the CEOs from AMC, from Sony, there's a saying about something like success has 1,000, captains or whatever, and failure has none. So now everybody's like, we picked the we knew it. Yeah, and then what about casting Bryan Cranston? Oh yeah, we thought he was the guy, because they didn't at first, I think they wanted to cast somebody who was more known
because he was the funny dad from Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah, how could he be this guy? So, but Vince stuck to his guns. So, some of the more interesting stuff about the book is how the show came to be. How different people. No, I knew it. It's like, no, you didn't, because you did it 2 years ago. But it's funny that
When does the oral history of Breaking Bad come out?
It comes out November 17th.
And people can order it right now at Barnes & Noble, Amazon.
Yeah. And it's in my, you got a link in my Instagram, or you can go there and pre-order it, which is probably a good idea because it's going to be I think it'll be a big Christmas present. So you might want to get yours early to make sure they don't run out and have to wait for the second printing. But you'll enjoy it. Yeah.
It's going to be linked in the show notes too, so go check it out.
Yeah.
The finals, most people don't realize, but you found out that your character was going to be, spoilers, killed off 2 years before he actually got killed off.
Yeah.
Did that change your approach of how you did the scenes?
Not really, because as the character, you didn't know you were going to get killed off. As the character, Dean, I knew I was, but as Hank, I didn't know I was. So it was more, again, just sticking with the script, and it didn't affect, because I wouldn't have known as Hank, So,
is it weird for you as an actor to see yourself get killed off?
It is. It's kind of weird, yeah. Yeah, getting shot and dragged off. That's the part that I think freaked me out most, was where they're dragging them. It's like they're just so lifeless and just, I don't know, gross. Ended up in a shallow grave in the desert.
And they did that all in one take?
We did my death scene in one take. I rarely would talk to the directors about, like, I let them do what they want to do and blah, blah, blah. And I remember Ryan Johnson, who has since gone on to be very famous as a director. I said, hey, man, can you give me one more camera? I said, because they had 3 cameras. And I said, I referenced a scene in one of my favorite movies called True Romance, where Dennis Hopper is interrogated by Christopher Walken. And there's a moment, and he asks for a cigarette, and there's this, and he's kind of doing this thing, and there's one moment where you see in his eyes that he knows he's going to die. You know what I'm saying? And I said, Ryan, is there any way we can get one extra camera that's just mine, for me? Because we had Brian's perspective, my close-up, a middle-level shot. And so we did, and we did it. We did it in It was action, and it was done. And Ryan said, "That's how you die on TV." And that was it. I mean, we did a couple cleanup shots around it, but the actual scene itself was done in one take. Yeah.
How'd you feel about Hank's send-off?
I loved it.
You think he needed to die?
Well, it would have been nice if he. I guess so. I remember Vince telling me that he says, "You're going to die, but you're going to die with your dignity." And he pretty much kind of almost said the line 2 years earlier, you know, something of note of like, you know, you can go fuck yourself. I thought that was a great ending for this guy. If he's going to die, I'm glad he died that way, you know? So
the look in his eyes was perfect of like the betrayal, but you got me.
Yeah.
And I'm sticking to my morals.
Yeah. And he didn't beg, you know, he didn't, because he knew 10 minutes ago.
How is the on-screen chemistry between you and Betsy? Was that just natural right from the start?
Yeah, it was amazing. I just fell in love with her. And we both had young families at the time. So my wife was out there. Like, my kids don't even remember shooting Breaking Bad, you know. I think maybe my oldest son kind of remembers Albuquerque a little bit. So we were both in this kind of situation of having young families. She had 2 kids, and it was just kind of a natural thing. And she was just so great. She's still great, and I love her. And so happy. We would always joke how, you know, we had the best relationship on the show, as opposed to the other people. Even though she was a kleptomaniac and crazy, but Hank loved her and would stick up for anything. So, yeah, it was pretty immediate with her and I.
What is it about their whole house being purple?
Still don't know. I still don't know why I collected minerals, to be honest with you. I don't know if she knows either. Really, these little quirks that happened in the show, and so I don't know.
The scene where the 2 brothers are going after Hank.
Yeah.
When you're reading that on paper and you see it all start to unfold, do you know exactly how you're going to be playing it out?
No, I didn't. And Michelle McLaren, who directed that, did just a phenomenal job. I did not know at all. And this is, again, I can't believe we're like talking like, you know, years ago, but they were all squibs, which were legitimate, like, you know, pops that are kind of semi-dangerous if you get too close to them. You know, actually, people have died.
What's the danger of it? Doesn't it explode? It's a blood pouch?
It explodes, but it's got, if you get too close to you, it can actually, like in a gun, that's why people kill themselves, because even if it's a blank, the power of it will if you're effing around with it, you know what I'm saying? So the point being is that it was, you know, it took a lot of explosives. It wasn't CGI. You have to wire it. It's all wired, you know. So every one of those gunshots, and the backing into, I remember I backed into that guy, Daniel Mancato, I believe it was, the second cousin, cut his legs off. And it was very intense. And I was surprised. We did it in 2 days. It took 2 days to do that scene. 2 full days. And no, I didn't. I mean, when I saw it cut together, I was blown away. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, it was 2 days of work, chopped down to 1 minute. That's the name of the episode. And the sound, like if you go back to that scene, the sound that they, you know, bah, 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 the dragging of the axe, all those kinds of things you couldn't see in the script, you couldn't imagine, and when they put it together, it was like, wow, these guys know what they're doing. You know, that was a good scene. Even if you know what happens, it's still a good scene.
Are there any other scenes that stick out to you that were really fun to film?
Well, for me, it's one that few people think about, but it was actually the scene right before that scene where I'm sitting on my bed and I'm telling my wife that I don't think the universe is telling me something. I don't think I'm meant to be a cop anymore. And it was a long monologue, and I remember working on it, and I couldn't get through the monologue without tearing up. Like in my hotel room, I was, working on it. And Michelle's like, you can't cry. I said, I'm not trying to. But when you go through the words, Tom Schnauz wrote this, it's just amazing, about, this big tough guy, Hank Schrader. And he's sitting there on the couch, on the bed, and his wife, and Betsy, you just look at her eyes. Go back and look at that scene. Just watch her, how much love she had for her husband. And just to say, I don't think I'm basically saying I'm not man enough to be a cop anymore, to admit to this, PTSD thing. It was a thing, So that's a scene that I just think about all the time. And again, when you watch it, it's different than what I imagined in my head, because so much of it was Betsy, just like, just loving her husband and knowing he's going through this pain. And anyway, I love that scene.
It really is so emotional.
Yeah.
Even so much of it is the back and forth of the characters driving each other. Even when you're interrogating Aaron Paul and he's not saying anything back.
Yeah.
You just keep going as he's just staring at you.
Yeah. I wish I had more scenes with him. He was so much fun to work with. Had a few more toward the end of the show, but yeah. Talking to him. Yeah, he's great.
What was the relationship amongst the cast when you guys aren't filming?
It was great. I think everybody got along. I remember when we first all were cast, Bryan invited us all to dinner, or lunch, I guess it was. And we all got to know each other at that lunch. And it was just clear that everybody was a good person. Nobody was going to be problematic. Other than Aaron, we had all kind of been around a little bit. But we all felt we were on this little show that could, and certainly when it started airing and stuff, we felt it was so good and nobody was watching it. So we kind of felt like come on guys, a team together, you know what I'm saying? Like we were supporting each other, in a way that was, I think it was special. And then it was nice because we had got this bond, so that when it did get big, we all kind of felt that bond together, and we got to go through this, this amazing experience together of this cultural icon thing that it became,
An ensemble cast is really what attracts the audience too.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I mean, literally, again, I'm sorry to keep going on about how great the show is, but literally, even every guest star in that show was cast perfectly.
DJ Qualls is one of my favorite.
Qualls,
incredible.
Oh man, incredible. Yeah, and every one of them, Bill Burr was in there, right? Just so many, Skinny Pete. I mean, Charles Baker. I mean, everybody was, cast perfectly, it seemed to me, in that show.
How come you stayed away from the writer's room?
Because I thought they were way smarter than me. And I think probably everybody went into the writer's room except for me, because I was like, what am I going to pitch? I'm like, every time they write me something, I'm like so impressed and so amazed at what they're writing for me. What am I going to go in there and say? Oh, do it like this. Then we passed that, 5 versions ago or something. I didn't think I had anything to give to the writers, because they seemed to know the character and the show so well. So I was like, I'll just take what they give me, you know.
Was there a moment where you really feel like you had Hank down to a science, where anything they gave you, you knew exactly how to play it? Is that like around season 3?
Yeah, I mean, they gave me a lot of different stuff, so I didn't really ever know what it would be. So I just kept my mind and my emotions open for it, and just took what they wrote and said. I mean, usually it was like this. Holy shit! That was basically my reaction to the thing. Like, I get to say that, you know. That was my reaction to the scripts, basically. And they just kept coming. I mean, you know, you do a show, and then the next episode is like, what? I get to do that with Bryan Cranston in the garage? I mean, that's going to be insane. I don't even know how that's going to work, but you know, we're going to figure it out. So, yeah, I don't know if I ever had him down to the point where because I didn't know what was coming. So I didn't know how to react until the script got there, and you go, oh, okay, figure that out.
You're obviously an incredible actor. Have you always been an incredible foodie?
Well, I like to eat.
Was it always barbecue from the beginning?
You know, I bought this restaurant,
the Swing In Cafe in
Temecula, because it had been there since 1927, but it was a breakfast place.
So you're celebrating 100 years next year?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's gonna be fun. Yeah, and the people we bought it from had owned it for 50 years, so I'm only the third owner. And it came up for sale. I wanted to invest in my local community, where I'd been out there 25 years. My kids grew up there. So we bought it, but it's on this main drag, like the main drag of Temecula. It's Old Town Temecula. And they were closed at 3 o'clock. And I was like, we can't close at 3 o'clock. We have to come up with a dinner menu. And, you know, it was a diner, so what are you going to have, Salisbury steak? You know, that was spaghetti. And I met this guy who was just an amazing, amazing pitmaster. And I was like, boom, barbecue would work great here. And
you had the space for the smokers and all that?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a big, part of the buying of it included the big parking lot and some other stuff. So I was like, let's go. And we started out with one smoker. Now we have 3 20-foot smokers, man. That's like, I was talking to my wife. She said we do something like 125,000 pounds of brisket a year. That's a lot of cows. Sorry. That's just brisket. That's not including the pulled pork, spare ribs, pastrami, and turkey, and all that kind of stuff. But these guys, they smoke 3 smokers 24/7. We have 4 different guys. The main pit master, and then there's other guys. A guy will spend a night smoking it, and we still run out, you know. So
that's the thing about barbecue is once you run out, you're done, right?
Yeah, because it's a 25-hour cook for the brisket, so you can't just like throw something on the stove, you know.
Have you guys figured out a Thursday versus a Saturday?
Yeah. At this point we have. Yeah.
What about a Father's Day?
Yeah.
And
all those.
You know how much to order. That's crazy. That's one of the most challenging things about a restaurant.
Absolutely. And to begin with, we didn't. I remember when we first went kind of viral. We'll pitch out to Grub with Greg, who is a great foodie influencer.
I love his videos.
You know?
Yeah,
Okay.
of course.
So he did a video with us, and it hit like, for him too, it was big because he wasn't as big as he was then. Like 18 million views or something like that. And we're like, what the hell? And all of a sudden, people were coming up from Mexico. People were coming from Orange County. And we would literally, the first weekend, we ran out of food like at 6 o'clock. It was like, people were pissed, you know. I was like, well, I didn't know, you know. So then we kind of got the deal down. So now we know what to order for all those special occasions, for the weekends, for all this different stuff. We've got that down now because we're now in our 4th year of barbecue. So, but it was great, man.
Has the Swing In been at that exact location for the past 100 years now?
Yep. And we have pictures of it too from the Historical Society of it used to be there was a gas station next to it, and it was like you see these 1927, man.
Have you been toying with the 100-year anniversary of what you want to do?
Oh yeah, we're gonna have some fun celebrations for sure. And like I said, it's kind of an iconic place for Temecula, maybe the most iconic. It used to be the city hall. That's where people, and I hear old timers will come in all the time and they'll say, "Yeah, we used to sit here and Bob needs a pool and do that," and then they would make decisions about the city and how it was running and this and that before there ever was a city hall. So it's got a lot of history to it, and it's kind of cool, like to shepherd that in. Like I didn't want someone buying it and turn it into an IHOP or something. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to kind of continue to shepherd this iconic, where my kids grew up in the booths, eating pancakes and stuff like that. I used to go there with my dad. And so many people have so many stories like that. And they're always appreciative when I love hanging out there and people come and say, "Man, I used to come here as a kid. Thank God you kept it the same," because we didn't change the breakfast menu at all. It's exactly the same. We even have liver and onions. How about that?
No, that's a classic.
Liver and onions, my friend. When I first got there, I'm like, Xing that out. They're like, "No, Dean, you don't want to X that out."
Because there's people going there for years who probably love it.
Yeah, and we saw a lot of it.
Yeah. My dad loves going to Frank and Musso's in Hollywood, and he goes for the specials, the chicken pot pie on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
If somebody was going to your restaurant, what is the order that you would recommend?
Well, we have a 3-meat platter. You got to get the brisket because we're very much known for that, and our ribs. And then I would say, believe it or not, our smoked turkey is out of the world. It's really tender and sweet. And we smoke pastrami, so we do a Reuben sandwich with this smoked pastrami and the Swiss cheese and the sauerkraut. And I think that's what I order when I go there.
How often are you there?
When I'm in town, I try to go there at least part of the day, just to say hi to everybody and act like I know what I'm doing. There's always little tweaks, man. You may know restaurants are complicated, man. You wouldn't think so, but there's always little tweaks you can make. There's always put a sign here, do this, that, blah 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 blah. And there's a lot of people. I think we have 50 employees, something like that. So you're always dealing with little houses. My wife does the main managing of the place, the ordering, paying the bills, and all that kind of stuff. I just kind of float in every once in a while and take a few pictures.
Eat some brisket, call it a day.
Yeah, exactly.
Can we talk about Under the Dome?
Yeah.
What is it like working on a Stephen King project? Does it have a unique feel to it?
Oh, man. So I knew I was dying on Breaking Bad. This was in January. My death scene was filmed, I think, in end of January, 1st of February. So my agent has me meet with the head of CBS. This is once you get on Breaking Bad, you don't audition anymore. You get to meet with the head of CBS.
Are offers flooding in?
Yeah, Nina Tassler, but this was Nina Tassler at the time. And it was one of the first shows that was picked up for 12 episodes right away. That wasn't a thing back then.
For Under the Dome.
For Under the Dome. But it was Stephen King. Steven Spielberg was the producer on that. So, and you go meet with the head of CBS, and by the end of the meeting, she's like, "Yeah, I think you're a guy." And I was like, I remember talking to Bryan Cranston and my wife, and I said, "Bryan, after this show, what do I do? He was like, take the money."
Like the biggest offer?
Yeah, he said, take the money. I was like, "But shouldn't I wait and try to?" He's like, take the money. And I was like, "No, I can't take the first thing I get from, it's a network show. My wife's like, take the money." Because it had been picked up. Usually you do a pilot and then you have to wait and hope. This was already picked up, so it was a guaranteed 12 shows, And so glad I did because I had so much fun on that show. We shot in Wilmington, North Carolina, and my kids do remember that show because that was after. We would live on this place called Wrightsville Beach and just had a great 3 years of fun. And And the first year it was like the biggest summer show in 20 years. I remember we went to Monaco for some. We got some international TV award, and it was cool being on, going from AMC small show, even though it was big at the time, to a big network show was an interesting transition.
Is there better residuals for that too?
Yeah,
because it is network TV.
Yeah, and it was the first deal where they sold it to Amazon, so it would air
simultaneously.
Yeah, so I think it aired on like Sunday or Monday, and by Thursday it was on Amazon. So they had already sold it. They were already making money on that show before it aired because they had sold the rights to Amazon for the second showings.
Was that the first of that? Was that the first move of that time to really do that?
I believe it was, yeah. And it was kind of innovative at the time to. And again, like I said, the first show I remember where they had picked up prior to. Of course, being still Stephen King and Steven Spielberg, I can see why they do it. But it was cool to be on that kind of a show. And then, again, they would show it on. It's still on Amazon now, I think.
What was it like working with Steven Spielberg?
He didn't have a lot to do. He would, show up here and there. But I did get to, but Stephen King wrote a couple of the episodes, and he would be there for the filming of those episodes. So that was really cool. He doesn't sign books anymore, but he signed an Under the Dome book for me. But it was so cool having him on the show. I don't know if I can say bad things. It wouldn't be about him, but I was like, hey, he's like, I'll write, any number of episodes. I was like, great. He's like, CBS hasn't asked. I was like, you're not going to ask Stephen King to write more episodes? Why not? Because he wrote 2.
I wonder if it's a budget thing.
I don't think it was. I think I don't know. I don't want to get into the. I think there was some mismanagement, and that being like a case in point. I mean, if I was a producer, I'd be like, yeah, write as many as you want, So anyway, so I got to see him more than Steven Spielberg.
Being a working actor for the past 4 decades.
Yeah.
How challenging is it for someone to actually get a show made, picked up, keep it running? What are all those other factors that come into play that could get a show off air?
So many, man. You need a great showrunner, which is basically a fancy name for the head writer. But somebody who can conceive of a show and conceive of its longevity and keep it fresh and keep it going. And that's one of the toughest jobs in this business. And that's why they pay those guys who are good. They pay them well because they can do that. Because it's first of all, you got to get the chemistry right with the cast. And then you got to come up with, a new script every week. That's a brutal schedule.
Because they're overseeing everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a young person's game, as one of my old showrunner friends tells me. He's retired. He's like, can't do it.
I interviewed Linwood Boomer from Malcolm.
Oh, yeah?
And that was the thing. He said he can't do it anymore.
Can't do it anymore. Yeah.
It consumed his entire life.
Exactly.
Even doing this 4-episode revival of Malcolm was so much in itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Those guys are... I remember Joel Chernow is a good friend of mine. He created 24. But I think he wrote a bunch of Miami Vices when he was a writer. But he always tells me, he's like, every script I finished, there's like one last script I had to do. It's just one. It was just like so brutal, But he tells me a lot about that show running thing and how he learned to be a good showrunner, And but yeah, it was nonstop.
I don't want any names, but how can a director ruin the relationship with the actor to make them not give the best performance?
I'm not going to give you a name, but there was one director on Breaking Bad that never came back who we all knew that everything was in the script. Like, one of the best parts of Breaking Bad was the non-lines, the how they described things. going on. It was amazing. And very few shows would allow the kind of silence or the pauses that Breaking Bad did. But if you go back and watch it, there are scenes where there's no dialogue. There's scenes, but the prose that was written in between the lines was freaking genius. And you know, you're like, how do you know, it would be like, I can't think of an example, but like, you know, the look in his eye is blah 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 blah, and you're like, wow. That's amazing, inspiring. So this one particular director decided he was going to put his own imprimatur on the show. And there was a great producer, Melissa Bernstein, who I love to this day. And she was kind of Vince's eyes, because Vince was back in Burbank writing. And he's like, yeah, what I want you to do is do this and move over here. And it was like, no, that's not in the script, man. You know, you got to do the script, bro. You know? And he and Melissa basically calls Vince and tells him, hey, man, you know, no, you got to, you know, do the script as is written, you know, even in the in-between lines. And it just turned into a fiasco. And I did not like that guy, because he was mean to Melissa, and all because he wanted to basically show that he was a big time director, and he wanted to show his thing, and say, no, man, just do the script as it, you know, just follow this. Here's the blueprint, man. Right? You know, it's you know, it's an incredible show. We don't need your extra input into that. Just direct it as it's written. And one of the few directors who was never asked back.
Did his input make it onto the screen?
No, because they said, no, you can't. You got to do it the way it's written, and we don't want an extra walk here or an extra thing here. But it was like a half a day of you know, yelling, and he was mean to her, and that just pissed me off. And I got a great story about that. I forgot. So. Still without saying his name. And the whole crew hated him. And I was out having drinks with friends of people who became friends of mine, the camera guy and the assistant director, and they were looking at the call sheet. You know, you get a call sheet for the next day, and they said, because I started giving this guy shit, like on the set, like really getting on his ass. And they're like, oh God, another day with so and so, and then he goes like, yeah, but so and so's got another day with Dean Norris. Because after that happened, I would just, you know, I felt I was sticking up for my my producer Melissa, who got a lot of shit from this guy.
Well, you're such a worksman and for the team. So if anybody pisses you off, it's probably on the.
Yeah. But I remember the center go, oh, another day with so and so, and they're like, yeah, but so and so another day with Dean Norris. I love that.
Can we hop over to Claws?
Yes.
You have a big bar fight scene. You're reading that script. Is that how it comes?
I told them to write that scene.
In what way?
I said I need a scene where, and they wrote it for me. I said, I'd love a scene where you get to see the virility of this guy, because he's bisexual in the show. And I said, I want to show that. I want to see some guys making fun of him for being gay or bisexual, and he fucking lights into him. And they wrote that scene for me.
And the choreography of it, the stunt work of it.
Yeah. I love that scene, but I asked him to write that for me.
How much prep work is there for something like that? Because it looks pretty intense.
Yeah, you have a couple days of working with a stunt guy beforehand. You know, when you're off from another scene, and you sit there and you work out all those different things, and so that on the day it goes quicker. So yeah, a couple days of stunt work.
When you're reading that script, are you also looking in the mirror? Do you practice the facial expressions of how to get certain emotions?
I don't. I don't look in the mirror much when I practice. I just kind of like try to hear it in my head, and imagine what he sounds like, you know. So
If Vince Gilligan ever figured out a way to bring back Hank,
yeah.
is that something that you'd ever want to explore?
Oh, are you kidding me? Of course. If Vince Gilligan did anything, I'd watch Vince Gilligan's car if you asked me. So yeah, if he came up with a way to do it, I would certainly do it. Yeah. I don't think he will though. I think he wisely, you know, brought it to the end. I think most people think it was a pretty solid ending, and I don't, you know, he's on to other stuff. Yeah.
Is there anything that you'd want to see from the 20th anniversary coming up?
I wouldn't mind seeing some more deleted scenes. I wish they would put out kind of some more bloopers and or deleted scenes. That it's almost like the director's cut, you know, a version of like Apocalypse Now. You know, you get the just to have a collection of scenes that didn't quite make it in there. And I think it'd be interesting to see them now. It's like or like hearing Beatles, you know, when they have, you know, other cuts, you know what I'm saying? So it'd be kind of cool to see what they cut out, you know.
You seem like such a fan of the art of cinema.
Yeah.
What are your favorite movies? What are you watching now?
Oh man. Well, I can't wait to see The Odyssey. I haven't seen that yet.
Are you seeing it in IMAX?
I'm gonna see it on the big, yeah. You know, I'm an old school 70s guy, man. I'm Taxi Driver, I'm Mean Streets. You know, Space Odyssey 2001, Apocalypse Now. I watch yearly, and then I also love, you know, well those are Serpico. I mean, you know, hate to date myself, but those are the kinds of things I like to see. You know, I'll watch those old movies again and again. Of course, The Godfather.
What's your favorite De Niro movie?
The same Mean Streets, but probably Raging Bull. Yeah. Yeah. So good, man. When he's pounding his head. Oh, man. So good. And Joe Pesci, you know. So doing a movie with, like I said, I just mentioned earlier, Harvey Keitel. So I can't wait. I mean, he's a legend too, you know.
What was his big movie?
Well, he was in Mean Streets with De Niro. Did he do Bad Lieutenant? I think he did Bad Lieutenant. Just been in a bunch of those same kind of De Niro-esque movies, you know, back in the day. So, anyway.
Gremlins 2. Had you seen the first one when you stepped into that?
No.
Oh, one of my favorites.
No. I'm wearing some ridiculous 80s workout clothes or something on that one. So bad.
The sequel delivers just as much as the first, I think.
Yeah. I didn't even watch it.
Really?
No, I didn't see it. I've just seen pictures of me in this ridiculous workout thing. Yeah, that's funny.
So people could pre-order the oral history of Breaking Bad.
Yes.
It's going to be linked down below.
Yes.
And it's coming out when?
November 17th.
Amazing. And people can come to the Swing Inn
Yes.
in Temecula.
Yes,
Come
please
check out
do.
your restaurant.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so
Awesome.
much for coming by.
Thanks, man. It's been a fun.
This has been awesome talking to you.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Cool. See you
Okay.
guys. That was great.
Bye.